FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
So what can you do about Mexico as our neighbor next door?
Well, I care deeply about Mexico, and I am extremely impressed by the courage of President Calderon in taking on the drug cartels. And this is one of the most difficult fights that any country faces today. We saw it over the last couple of decades in Colombia. We are watching drug traffickers undermine and corrupt governments in Central America, and we're watching the brutality, the barbarity of their violent assaults on mayors and governors, the press, as well as each other in Mexico. So it's been one of my highest priorities, and we have worked closely with the Mexicans to assist them in ways that they've requested. I went to Mexico shortly after becoming Secretary of State and said what I believe, which is that the United States shares the responsibility for the violence that is plaguing Mexico. Our insatiable demand for illegal drugs, our unwillingness to crack down on thousands and thousands of weapons being trafficked across our border into Mexico. And, you know, I thought it was an obvious thing to say. You know, some political commentators criticized me for it, but it meant that for the first time the United States was coming to Mexico not to, you know, tell Mexico what to do, but to say, look, we have a problem. Not you, we have a problem, and we want to help you deal with this very serious problem you know, the safety of your citizens and the stability of many local governments. So we are working hard, and it's not just a question of, you know, providing Black Hawk helicopters, which we have promised to do, or better equipment for the police and the military. It's also helping them, you know, build an independent judiciary, build a correction system that can actually keep the criminals in once that they are caught, working to improve their conviction and prosecution rate, which is about 2%, helping them professionalize their police force because they don't have a national police force, and you know, they're moving toward that under President Calderon's leadership. So every American should support what the government of Mexico is trying to do and send a very clear message that we will be their partners and that they do need to win this struggle against the drug traffickers. You cannot accommodate the drug traffickers, because what has happened is that these drug cartels are now taking on the attributes of a lot of the insurgent and terrorist groups that we see elsewhere around the world. For the first time, the Mexican drug gangs are using car bombings, you would see in Iraq or Pakistan. You see them being much more organized in a kind of paramilitary way. In fact, one of the most violent of the drug gangs are former special forces members from the Mexican army who went over to the dark side. So this is a struggle that has a huge consequence for the United States, not just along our border, but far into our nation. So I'm glad you asked me about that, because I think there is so much more we can do to help Mexico, and we're looking for ways that the Mexican-American diaspora can be of help as well.